1. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are having an amazing conversation that has covered so many different spaces about a conference, press conference, um, creating a community, a virtual town. And Ananda, you have tremendous experience with intentional communities and projects, communal projects and whatnot. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ananda. Please take it away.
Thank you, Jamin. This is Ananda Elise Reeves from Future Now Radio. We've had a wonderful day. We've just stopped all of the clocks, and all of us on this call just put our focus on the thing that is the most important thing to us right now in rebuilding a new language for the terminology for new language and for new systems. And we've had some wonderful inputs, some wonderful ideas. So to sum it up, we're talking about the important thing that seemed unanimous between everybody that was on the call today is that everyone sees the urgency for coming together under an umbrella and uniting ourselves and connecting our resources, connecting our databases, connecting our time, and coming out of it feeling like one universal mankind, one universal humankind. And so we're at the edge of the progress here. We've heard from many beautiful, brilliant people today about what that umbrella might look like, or why do we need one, or what's been in the way of us getting an umbrella organization before now, and what would it take? And so that discussion's been very, very healthy for us to move forward. So we're at the juncture right now of we're choosing to put together the action step pieces of what actions do we need to take in order to start the motor of moving towards a open source, universal umbrella organization that not only we put our time and our money into, but also our foundation organization gives back to us in the way that anybody who is a member of the Universal Umbrella Organization can apply for grants and get back resources of time or money or both of what they need in order to carry forth the mission of their change-making organization. And all of that is designed and meant to get to a place of one universal humanity. So that's been our background. And so now we're in the point of talking about, so how can we, not how can't we, but how can we make something like this happen, and where do we start? So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, I have an idea. Since this is so nascent, we're talking about creating this intentional community in the clouds. And one thought is that our first project actually be a weekly conference or press conference where we let anyone and everyone come in and speak for 5 minutes about whatever it is they think is the most important thing. And that's why they're putting their time on it, because they think it's the most important thing. And that way we get to hear a whole plethora of ideas and proposals and really honor each of them with our listening, even if it's for 5 minutes. You know, the idea of the press conference, let everyone speak for 5 minutes, and it's recorded and published. And that way we give people the gift of our listening, that everyone feels heard. And since they're being heard, they're also willing to hear others, because this is perhaps a base level of exchange that we can all agree to, is conversation. and dialogue and sharing. And so we all contribute our listening, and we are all gifted the microphone, right, in a structured way. And from there, each person speaks for 5 minutes and then points to an open house that they're doing, where they're inviting everyone to come join them for a deeper discussion, a longer discussion, and then of course people can go to whatever open houses they want, that are recurring, um, and have kind of that way, just sort of like a weekly coming together for that purpose. Because I believe that by creating this kind of marketplace, this could be the town's marketplace for ideas, right? Just like there might be a marketplace for food and other commodities, this could be a marketplace for ideas and projects. And that by having such a free flowing, frictionless marketplace, we can quickly identify some of the most urgent projects, the most necessary projects, whether they're foundational. How do we build out this fund, and how do we create, this time banking or money banking or whatever to support projects and et cetera. Those could be ideas that could be put forward precisely in the same framework, just like anything else, whether it's an app, a platform, a fund, or a project to cool the planet or to feed everyone. I believe that the projects that are kind of most urgent, most foundational can bubble to the top, and we can then put some focus on those. So those are among the reasons why I just wanted to propose for consideration the press conference idea, and going on mute.
We talked a lot today about forming an umbrella or foundation organization. And we talked a lot about the value and the importance of having conferences where people can interact and speak up and use their voice. We talked about that. And people that come on the call, they wait their turn and they listen to other people, and then it comes their turn and they respond to sometimes what other people said. It was really beautiful. But really, in honesty, what we were really here for today was talking about how we can build a universal open source umbrella that we can all use. So I would like to, rather than open it up to anybody talking about anything they're interested in, I would like to announce it as an experiment. And I would like to set some parameters on it so that we actually make progress on getting towards the universal umbrella idea. So it might sound something like our next press conference is going to be an experiment. And we want to invite everyone to come. We want to ask you the specific question. And so the experiment would be to have people use their imaginations, that all of these organizations come together under one umbrella. We have one source of income. We have one database. Everything is so much simpler. People have united themselves to this umbrella. And now we've got our power behind us. So I would like to set it up so that people come to the conference rather than giving 5 minutes of talking about whatever and taking the chance that it might go sideways or off into another direction or whatever. How about we ask them specific questions? And we might set it up like this, that we want to welcome you to our press conference today. It's an experiment. We're going to ask you all to imagine that our experiment was successful. And what we've done is we've united all of the change makers that are interested in the world to come together and form an umbrella organization where we have one source of time, one source of money, and one source of information. So we want to ask each one of you here on this press conference today, how do you see yourself being a part of a universal umbrella? What could your organization bring to a universal umbrella? What do you think you could bring as a universal umbrella? let's just imagine for a minute that one of the requirements to be in the universal umbrella is that you have to give 30 hours of, 30 minutes a month or a week or whatever it is. We'll get clear on what that is. Let's just say it's 30 minutes a week of time and $1 a month. Let's just say that. This is an experiment. So what would be how do you see yourself playing a part in a universal umbrella? And what would it be like once the foundation is already organized? If your group were to write a grant for what they needed for their organization, what would that be? And how much time would you write a grant for? How much money would you write a grant for? Bring it home so that people are actually relating to this idea. And they're not coming there with their speech all prepared about, my topic is all about kindness to animals. Well, okay, that's your but what's the? And how would you play a part in that? And if you were to use your imagination, let's pretend that it's already done. What would you write a grant for? And people at first, they would just stare like deers in the headlights, and they'll say, I don't know. No one's ever asked me what I want to get back. I'm always just asked for money. People just keep asking me for money. Nobody asked me what I would do if I were asked to give money back, or if people gave back to me. What would that look like? So you want to get their feelings sort of involved in it. You want to get the passion kind of rolling with it, even though it's only pretend and experimental and imaginary at this point. I know for sure that if you can imagine it, you can have it. And if everyone in this organization started telling all their friends, you got to come on this call because, they're talking about putting together a universal umbrella, and I felt a part of that. You should come to that. And this little group of people we had today has the power to make this whole thing go viral if it's interesting enough to it, if there's enough buy-in from them. And they get buy-in by you at this point. They're just using their imagination because there's really nothing else to do. There's no foundation. You just get to pretend that it's here. And what would it look like if it were? And what would be my part of that? And what would be my organization's part of that? And I'm kind of guessing that someone would say, wow, well, I definitely want to be a part of the umbrella, and I'm definitely willing to put in a little bit of time, a little bit of money. But, I bet you my whole team here that I work with 50 people in our organization. I bet you they'll all want to do it because, the organization can get money back too, not just individuals. So, set it up like you're buying into people's feelings about what would it be like to actually have it done. And what would you gain from that? What would you contribute to that? And you start drawing people out, like, well, I can't give very much time. The only thing I can do is I maybe offer a little bit of computer time. All right. So what would you do for the foundation with 30 minutes a week of volunteer time? Well, you could work on the database. You can work on just, whatever. I want to bring it home. I want to make it imaginary. I want to make it focused. I want to make it so that it becomes real in people's minds and gives it energy so it gets to where it's going. So it gets formed, it gets started, it gets going. That's how I think we can use our time best in the first press conference, is make it a specific topic, make it experimental and imaginary, and just see what people would be willing to do. See what happens when people get real excited about working together on something. I'm complete.
Yeah, well, I've definitely, been held in the conversation.cc here, and by, how passionate our goals are. And even on my scary limited income, I could do $1 a month and 30 minutes. Obviously, time is what I've been able to give so far. But yeah, that seems so doable. Um, and there are plenty of people that want to do their part in things, that but they don't feel, they probably have skills, but they don't feel they do. And they're, also like people working 2 and 3 jobs and to support themselves and all that sort of thing. Everybody could give $1. That's really, I think the only thing we're missing is just need a lot of passionate people spreading the word. Pretty much it. I mean,
So you're saying, let's make it doable. Let's make it real to them. Let's do some coaching, help them figure out what their skills are or how they might be able to contribute. Could you give us, 5 minutes a day to monitor our Facebook page or whatever? Could you send out an email to 3 people telling them about this amazing, experience you had? Yeah, well, that'll take, there's your quota for your time right there. What if everybody did that? One time I have to tell you about an experiment that I did in Oregon. If I've told you this before, let me know. And like I said, Ananda is full of stories, but we were trying to start an Ubuntu village. Yeah, after Michael Tellinger's plan of one small town. And there was about 20 of us that came to regular meetup meetings about contributionism from Michael Tellinger, or 20 of us. And we decided that what we really needed was a center where we could put up big banners, we could have informational classes, people could go drop in off the street and they can learn about what a contributionism is and how they all work together. And there'd be a big sign-up sheet for people putting in their time. And so we needed a center. And there was this building that was the perfect location, and it was sitting empty for a long time. So we found out who the realtor was, and the owner was a realtor. And we went to the realtor and we said, we think you should give us your building. And he says, why would I do that? And we said, because we have 20 people here and they're all give you 3 hours a week of time. And so we're going to give you 40 hours of free labor time for you to give us your building. And then we coached him a little because he didn't know what to say. So we said, what do you do? How many hours a week do you work? 50 or 60? Yeah, about 50 hours a week I work in this business. How much time do you actually spend in making the deal and signing the check? 2 hours, 3, maybe 5 at the most. What else do you do? Well, I have to run the office. I have to answer phone calls. I have to answer emails. I have to empty the trash. I have to manage these people. I have to put out signs for when things are for sale. I have to clean the buildings before they're, he went on and on. He said, well, what if you got 40 hours of free labor time a week to take care of all the things and all you had to do was seal the deal and make the money? He says, well, that would be great. I said, well, you're on. We'll give you 40 hours a week and you tell us what you need and we'll get it done. And then you can go out and make more money, which would justify you giving us this building. And he said, okay, we'll go about that. So, we got so far down the line. It's like, well, this is cool. We started designing our big banners we're going to put in front of the building. And we were starting to schedule classes and we had it all ready. And the only thing that went wrong was some of those hours that we offered did not include a coordinator. So you had 20 people showing up every week with, I'm going to give you my time, but what do you want me to do? And there wasn't anybody to coordinate. Well, all right, this week we need these files cleaned out. This week we need these phone calls answered. Somebody needs to take the trash out. Nobody threw in the job of coordinator. And so it failed. A lot of them do. But we got so far. We really got the conversation going with this one realtor They gave us his building and we couldn't keep it because we weren't organized enough. That's the only thing, folks. That's what I'm saying. So he needed some coaching on, well, what, you know, what would you contribute? Well, I contribute some time. What could you? I don't really know anything that I can do to contribute time. And we'd start throwing out things like, well, you know, what if you just sent out 10 emails this week? What if everybody sent 10 emails out this week and said, be on the next press call? This is amazing. So we got to this place in this project where we were asking people, and Michael Tellinger's idea is that everybody does what they love. So we said, everybody in a circle, we said, what do you love doing? And they sat there again, like a deer in the headlights. They didn't know what they loved doing. They've never been asked that before. They've always been told, you have to work here, you have to work there, you have to have this job, that job, you know. And nobody ever asked me, what do you want to do? So they sat there for a long time. They just kind of just stared at us. So, well, what would you do if you contributed 3 hours a week and you could do what you love? And after a while, it took them a long time. We started coaching them through it. We started going, okay, do you like to do you like to dig post holes? Oh God, yeah, I love doing that. Well, then this guy needs posts put out in the property. You can go around and deliver these signs and dig a hole for him. Oh, okay. I just love answering the phone. I'm really good at answering the phone. Okay, you can do that. So what you love doing was related to the job that we promised this realtor. But the point was, it took people a while to jostle loose what they love doing. And so we could do that. We could run a workshop in our little Zoom call right here and go around and have a facilitated talk on what would you do if you could do what you loved and you only had to work X amount of hours for that. Or what would you do if you could write a grant to the foundation? What would you write it for? I remember last week we were talking to the lady that does the meditations. And she sat there like a deer in the headlights for a while when we said, what would you do if you could get a grant back from the foundation? And she stared for a while. And then she said, I would give some money to some of the people, some of the meditators that spend a lot of their time organizing this. That would be really great. So once she came up with that idea and it became a reality to her, she caught on fire with it. And all of a sudden it became a reality to her because she was imagining it to be true. So we want to get our group to imagine it can come true. And that's what's going to make it spread. I'm complete. I don't know why I have all this to say.
It was funny. You would think that people know what they want or what they need or even what they love. But you stumped me, last Friday when you said what do you need right now? What would, if you had the ability to write the grant, what would you need right now? What would you want? And I couldn't think of anything while I'm struggling to try and keep my phone charged and on at the same time, keep my laptop on. And then like when I here by myself, trying to keep space open, I need at least 2 devices. Otherwise it shuts off every 40 minutes. And I've been searching, looking online to get another, whatever the cheapest thing I could get other than a phone that would have a keyboard, like some of these pads. And I keep doing it. I'm like, oh, duh. Afterwards, later, I'm like, oh yeah, I could use those things. That would make it so much easier for me right now. Because I found out just the other day that when I'm keeping my phone on as a second device, I'm missing all my phone calls. I didn't realize that was happening until I said, voicemails. How come I never heard the phone ring? I didn't realize it was keeping my phone from ringing. So it was, yeah. So yeah, you actually have to coach people for them to even be able to say what they need, much less what they love.
Yeah, and the results of that is that then they become ownership. They become owners of what they're passionate about. Like, yeah, if we could coach you into thinking it through, what do you need? You will, I need a new phone. I need $200 to buy a new phone. We'll write a grant for it and we'll get that grant over to you. And all of a sudden it becomes a reality to people and it's no longer just an idea. There's so many people that started things on a dream. Walt Disney just built a whole empire because he wanted his kids to have rides to ride on that were fun. And he just imagined it. I used to go to Disneyland all the time when I was in LA. I bought a year-long pass and I go there and I loved it because they were always playing positive music stuff. They'd say, "You gotta believe, Tinkerbell, you just gotta believe." And I was just going, wow, I love this place. It's the happiest place on earth. Well, he just dreamed all that up. Why can't we dream up a foundation that feels good in our imagination at this stage? It's just our imagination. Christopher, hello. You got something to chip in?
Hello, sorry, my mouse doesn't work very well. I've been here listening. Very appreciative of what you've been saying.
Sorry, you need to feed your mouse better cheese and then it'll work better.
Times, so.
Go ahead, Christopher.
I need some more time here to collect my thoughts. I've got something brewing here that I want to share with you, but I need another few moments here. So if you give me that, then I'll definitely.
Okay, well, we're here for you, and thank you for hanging in there.
And I need a quick bio break here for myself. I will be right back.
Why don't we all take a little break?
Okay.
How long of a break would make sense to folks?
Well, I'm past my swimming appointment time, so I'm here for the night. So I really honestly thought we'd be done by 5:30 so I could run over to the pool, but it's okay. This is the most important job in the world.
It is.
So yeah, 15-minute break would be good. About 7 o'clock we'll be back. I mean, 6:30.
6:30. Okay, so back in 15 minutes. At the bottom of the hour. I'll pause recording. Of course, feel free to share when you're here, but we'll officially resume in 15 minutes. 30 after. Thanks, everyone. See you shortly.
All right, we're back. Ananda just said some amazing stuff about imagining into the future. Wish we'd recorded, but that's okay. It'll come back into better forms. And Marco, what do you think of all this, buddy? You're on mute.
And I know some people prefer me that way, but are we still on the schedule of the conference call that you have, Ananda, for every Friday?
Oh, I don't know. We'll talk about that. That meeting that we had in the Moneyless Society that spawned the Friday call spawned 3 more meetings. So I'd be happy with just agreeing on one time and just sticking with that. And I don't know what that is yet. That was just something I pulled out of my hat.
Okay, so would we maybe, instead of doing the field trip on Fridays from the block party to the conference meeting, just have the meeting at the block party at this link?
I think we should put it in it should be what the next press conference is about. And since people are already familiar with that time, our next step is to come to the press conference with an experiment that we announce out to everyone and prepare them to come to the meeting about how they can engage in the experiment.
Okay, well, the next press conference is this Thursday. Do we want to do it for this Thursday or the one following that?
What do you think, Damon?
To give time to.
I have no problem doing it for this Thursday. And in fact, then, this Thursday and next Thursday. I mean, because until we get this whole thing reconfigured, there's nothing that's on the agenda for the press conference, right? It's just kind of a placeholder. And I think it's been missing this conversation, right? What do we want to co-create together? What can we imagine co-creating? And you know, talk about a resource-based economy. The most precious resource is people's time. And if we're able to, you know, get people to commit a certain amount of time, and then we organize ourselves and we say, listen, okay, a half an hour a week, let's organize work parties where we get together and reach out to people and invite them to come, right? And just grow our numbers, because that's how we can get something really exponential going. Right? Because 100 people will beget 1,000, will beget 10,000, will beget 100,000. And then I would like to build on that imagining, right? What can we articulate as a starter vision, right? A seed vision. Doesn't have to be the full-blown vision, because that will evolve over time, right? We need you in the conversation in order to figure that out.
Yeah.
And, you know, but our starting vision is that what if it was as simple as this? We all get together on a particular day of the week and at a particular time, and maybe to make it a bit more meaningful, we make it 1 hour per week, right? Because half an hour, a half-hour meeting, there's always a couple of minutes at the beginning and a couple of minutes at the end, and how much is left in the middle, right? So it could be an hour a week that way we make it a habit. And I think that's a key thing, is making it a weekly just habit, that this is what we do. And then let's say on a given weekly meeting, let's say 100 people show up, right? We might have different breakout rooms for different tasks. Like if you want to be on the room that's all about inviting more people here, that's breakout room number 2. If you want to be on the room where it's brainstorming what we do here, right? We have recruiting, we have the what, and so on, right? And because I think if we can create a structure that can then grow like a fractal that way, so that the more people that come in, we just go into more breakout rooms and have more, topics. And, people can say, well, I want to lead a breakout room on this. And then if a lot of people show up, that tells you something. If nobody shows up, that tells you something. No matter what happens, it tells you something. And so this way we could have an easy way to sort of experiment with different things. And then at the end of the breakout sessions, we come back together for a general session and, sharing of what people figured out or what insights they took away with. And then next action items. What are we planning for next week? Yeah, go ahead, Ananda.
I was just going to say, but let's keep it focused on our intention of creating this umbrella organization foundation. Because if we say breakout rooms, you're going to get people over there talking about herding cats, you're going to get people over there doing, and has nothing at all to do with our focus. So we're going to run a focus experiment. And you can help me wordsmith this so we can put it together in the email and all of our announcements and everything. And that the breakout rooms have to do with the experiment. Yeah, I think one fun breakout room would be, the imaginary circle. Come to the imaginary circle and let's talk about what would you do with a grant from the foundation. Let's talk. There's a fun workshop. Another one might be, wow, all you people that are making apps these days, go talk to each other over in the open house on apps. You've got a lot in common. You got 5 million apps coming up. Be in the same room together, dude.
We could call it the apple tree.
I'll be right back.
So can we agree that the whole experiment has to stay focused on the intention, and that the breakout rooms are focused on the experiment as well.
Gotcha. Okay, and so the experiment, if you were to define the experiment or give it a, a one-liner or a two-liner, what is the experiment?
That's what I want you to help me wordsmith, because together we can come up with the perfect right sentence.
Perfect. Okay. So, I'll tell you, why don't we concept smith it first, and then we can wordsmith it.
Okay, concept it.
So the experiment is creating I would give it a title: creating an intentional community in the clouds, right? Remember, like in The Empire Strikes Back, Lando Calrissian had that city in the clouds, and that's where they took refuge. Little did they know that the Empire got there first.
All right.
But before that bad news, it seemed like a pretty cool place there for a while, the city in the clouds. So, and in fact, why not call it a city in the clouds? The experiment, creating an intentional community, an intentional city in the clouds. Marco, we're just playing with a concept here.
Right.
What do we want to call the experiment? Anyway, let's just kick around ideas, and then I'm sure we'll hit on something good, especially since Christopher's back. So how about an intentional city in the clouds? And so what's the intention? What's the intention of this intentional city?
It's to co-create a universal umbrella just put it to create an open source universal umbrella. Now, the why is important, because the why gets to we want to be able to excite people from the beginning that it's about an umbrella organization where we take care of our own people, that gives back to the people. It's not just about raising funds, it's about raising funds to give back to people. So we want to put that in there somehow.
Well, so may I offer a slightly different perspective, that creating the universal umbrella and funding and all that, these are means to an end, but what is the end, right? So you know how, like, at different points in history, different cities kind of led the world, right? There was a time when it was all about Rome, and at other times maybe Venice, when it was about whatever, trade and the Renaissance and all that. What if this were our time? What if this city, this intentional city in the clouds, it was our time, and the intent, the goal, the aim, the mission is to lead the world in saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth? Because we're at a moment right now where life on Earth is tragically in question, right? Is life going to continue? We're overheating exponentially. That alone is, cause for, the main driver of the current sixth mass extinction. We've also got pandemics, political collapse, fascism, totalitarianism, economic collapse. The list goes on and on. The Amazon is dying, on and on and on. So I think it's time to think big and aspirational here, and we're creating an intentional city. So imagine you come to this city in the clouds where there might be thousands of Zoom rooms at any given moment, right? And you can zip around, click, 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 go to anyone you want. And there's all these different projects that are happening.
Ooh, I can see this as a game.
Absolutely. And this central bank is just but one asset, one part of it, right? But the synaptic network is probably a much more powerful part of it. And so, the umbrella organization, nonprofit, et cetera, again, these are means to an end, but what's the end? And I think we
I've
need,
got it.
yeah, go ahead, Ananda.
So it's true. Every single movie that I see, everything that has to do with announcing what we're doing here, they always go over all of the drama that's going on with our planet, all of the problems. So here's our mission. It's simple. So simple, it's going to knock your socks off. Our mission is to learn to unify ourselves. Or our mission is to learn to collaborate.
I would challenge you again that the mission is to save, heal, and transform life on Earth. And the means to the end is unification. A means to the end is collaboration. See, think beyond that point, because there will come a day where, of course, we're united. Of course, we collaborate like a functioning family. A well-functioning family has a hard time imagining a dysfunctional family, because that's just what we do, is we function and we collaborate and we support each other. So that's a means to an end, is unity and collaboration, cooperation.
Except for we don't know how to do that. And
I
all day
agree.
long, I kept hearing about how this person's got this app and doesn't want to let go of their ideas, and this person's got this organization and they don't really want to share it. And they, and these systems are trying to organize, but they really can't because they don't want to share their databases. We don't know how to unify. This is what the experiment is. How about we learn how to unify? What would that take?
Maybe
Yeah, go ahead, Marco.
maybe we should play around with the metaphor. I mean, umbrella. Maybe we need to call it something different than an umbrella organization. Just a thought. Like maybe more like a lifeboat organization. I don't know. An umbrella, theoretically, the metaphor is it protects us. So if we're going to use umbrella, what are we protecting ourselves from?
Well, I thought the umbrella idea came in when people were talking about everything being under one source.
Right.
But you're right, umbrellas can mean other things.
An umbrella protects us, and I mean we have the what do they call them, the umbrella insurance plans, because it covers everything. I'm sure there's somewhere in here there's some catchy little turn of the words we're missing.
Well, what we're doing right now is the most important thing, because we're wordsmithing out our announcement and our intention to what we're going to do to get people on the call. So this is like key time here. I'm just wondering, does Christopher have something to say? Because he had something he's preparing for a while.
Yes, I do. I just, I apologize. I need another moment here.
Okay, can we continue?
Please do.
You'll let us know when you're ready, right?
Most certainly will.
Thank you. Okay, so let's keep picking out the words here, because we're going to get it straight.
Totally.
It's going to be so dynamic. People go, I've got to be there for that.
Well, see, that's why I think we've got to go maxed out on aspirational. The key issue of our time is saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth, right? And what's most inspirational to me is creating the capital city in the clouds, right? To lead the world we're not playing for small stakes here. This is what gets me excited, is playing for the ultimate stakes of this city in the clouds, leading the world on the mission to save, heal, and transform life on Earth. Full blown, right? And then we say, okay, what does the city need in order to do this? Well, of course we need a central fund. Well, of course we need a synaptic connection field to connect all the different folks in the city. But it becomes a place that, to get there, you've got to get on the Millennium Falcon and go on one hell of a ride. It's like, it's a big deal to come here. And, one of the things is, just like when you're landing in the city, it's like, hey, you got to stay on track. There's a certain place to land here. And there's Lando Calrissian and the welcoming crew, and it's very dramatic. So let's make it so that when you come here, it's a real experience. It's not, just another Zoom meeting, with a bunch of washed up hippies, trying to figure stuff out, for the 117,000th time. All right. This is Loserville. No. Welcome to the city in the clouds. A city that was intentionally founded to lead the world in saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth. Boom, that's it. And Ananda, I sincerely believe that with you, we have the ultimate Lando Calrissian. We have the ultimate person who is there to welcome people and say welcome. Now, I also think that the two of us work very well together, because I'm good at maintaining the queue and all that. And as soon as someone's done, right, you're the perfect person to chime in and kind of help integrate what they just said into the conversation. And then I'm your, administrator, and you say, okay, Jamin, what's next? And I've got that all sorted out.
Yeah, that's a good team.
Because we've got the yin and the yang, we've got the male and the female, right? And then of course with Christopher,
Yeah, I'm much younger than you are, so we've got the age diversity.
Exactly,
there too.
we got the age difference. I'm the older, wiser one.
I'm the younger hot chick. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Joking. So yeah, what did you just say? Type that in here if you would. You said a nice sentence. I liked it.
Okay. Here,
the energy that it's coming from is awesome.
Thank you. I'm going to voice dictate it into the chat. I use voice dictation a lot. So everyone just bear with me, and you'll see the words appear on the screen in a moment. We are creating an intentional city in the clouds, with the intention that this city lead the world in saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth, period.
Okay.
Now it's in the chat. And so, we give the city a name. It's a city that it'll have a bunch of Zoom rooms, but it'll have a center, and it'll have a place that you land. And it'll also have certain times that are perfect times to land, and we'll have welcoming and this and that. And imagine that, like literally the four of us who are here in this room, there's 2 copies of Jamin Shively, so it looks like 5 windows, but there's 4 of us in the room. The 4 of us in the room, not coincidentally, 6 hours after the meeting started, here we are. The 4 of us in this room are actually 4 people who are absolute rock stars at welcoming and holding space. So Ananda, Marco very well. You don't know Christopher so well. He's been a little bit out of action the last few weeks, but there was for months on end there, we barely ever went dark. This room was always open, and it was thanks to these 2 gentlemen, Marco and Christopher.
Well, thank you guys.
And then to a lesser extent, other folks who would be here very regularly. We've got Jimena, Claudia, all these great folks. But Marco and Christopher have just been these perennial pillars holding it up, right? And there's got to be a special place in heaven reserved for both of them. And but
At least in the city in the clouds, right?
yeah, at least in the city in the clouds, exactly. And see that in itself, we're creating this magic space. We might as well give it a name. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have fun with it, and we'll get other people engaged in the fun of it. And then when they're imagining it, if you can imagine it, you can have it.
exactly.
I mean, what if we all imagine that that we're totally functional and take care of ourselves in our own city? And that's fun. We can make a game out of that. Wait, so I had something to add here.
Yeah.
We are creating an intentional city in the clouds with the intention of unifying all the change makers in the world in saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth.
So I'm adding in all the change makers in the world.
Yeah.
You know what? Getting back to what we were talking about the taxonomy, and we're just going to fill in bits and pieces as we go. But as we're talking about this taxonomy and the order of things and a structure that makes sense, I can't help but be reminded of Salt Lake City, Utah. I have a number of friends who either are or were Mormon, and so I've got all these Mormon stories that I've heard over. I'm not Mormon myself, but lots of friends. And one of the stories is that when they came there, it was just this flat desert, this salty desert floor, but it was very, very flat. And so they said, okay, let's map out the city, right? And so before a single thing was built, they had mapped out the entire grid such that it would flow in a certain way, right? And they didn't just put the Mormon temple where the land was cheapest. They put it where it made sense, right in the middle, and all this key infrastructure. So it can be an intentionally designed city, right? An intelligently and intentionally designed city, bringing in the concept of intelligent design, which is a fascinating one. And but this whole idea of mapping it out before we start to build, rather than doing it in some haphazard way, like how Mexico City evolved, which is a big mess, and it just evolved very organically. But that's one story from Salt Lake City. Another is that when they started building the first temple, the Mormon temple, they started off building kind of some traditional foundation. I'll wait till Ananda's back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just because it's nice to all be in the conversation.
I didn't realize there was no planning for Mexico City.
I'm probably exaggerating. I'm sure there was some planning, but but over time, it's just expanded in a gazillion different directions. And it's always better to plan ahead than plan behind, or do city planning as an afterthought, right?
I think that's happened a lot in the United States. Hey, as we moved westward and killed people and took away their land, we kind of haphazardly started. Something started here, and we just kind of built around it. There wasn't a lot of planning, and I don't think in a lot of cities.
So what's at stake is we create a platform. Remember I told you my experience of being out on the Occupy Plaza where everyone just came up to the mic because they could use their voice because they could, and they weren't good at it. But we learn. So what's at stake here is if we open up, if we don't come to them with enough of a vision or a structure or a dream or an experiment, if we don't come to them with enough structure to start something, what's at stake is you'll get all everybody and talking about whatever. And what's at stake is it will lose our focus. So what we want to do is we want to save everybody. I want to save them a lot of talking time. So whenever I start anything, I do meeting management. And the way that I start a meeting is I start the meeting with a proposal. And I put the proposal in the middle of the table with as much research and as much fact and scientific methods as I can. And I put the proposal in the middle of the table, and then they take it from there and it evolves into whatever it is. And I'm no longer attached to the outcome of it once it's in the middle of the table, it belongs to the group. But you give the group something to start with. And so that's the methodology that we're using now, is we're giving them something to start with. And so we're announcing, hey, we're going to start an experiment. It's going to be at the next press conference at such and such a time. And what we're doing is we're creating an intentional city in the clouds. And I came up with some more words. Intentional community in the crowds, where we learn to unify the change makers all around the world for the purpose of saving, healing, and transforming the world. That says everything I'd like it to say. I wanted to know that this is an experiment on learning how to unify, learning how to collaborate, because honestly, we don't know how to do that. And it's a college. We're coming to the college in our city. We're the city, what do they call them? The city designers. We're the city, oh, there's a word.
City planners.
City planners. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the city planners that have put a motion in front of the city council and said, this is what we're planning. And then you give people all the freedom and all the reins they want to go into, well, how would you fit into that plan? And then maybe the plan will completely change, but at least they've got something to start from. And if you stay focused and if you give them enough clarity from the very beginning with an intention and an action step, we'll get to where we're going with this. But if you open it up wide open, what do you guys think? You'll get what we got today. 6 hours of consultation and nothing yet. Right?
Okay, I have a thought. So we're doing this experiment. We're going to learn to unify the change makers all around the world with the intention of saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth.
Yeah.
But we want to do it in a safe way. We want everyone to be safe as we build this city, and we will be safe because we'll be shielded from we'll be shielded from, I don't know exactly what to put there, but by our, we'll all be shielded by a new, crap, I lost it. I was going to use umbrella because I'm not against umbrella. I'm just trying to make it special.
A new story for humanity.
Yeah, a new story. Or, well, what are our big things? We need food, shelter, money.
No, we don't need money, but we do need food and shelter.
Well, we need money to get to no money.
That's the thing that always kills me, is you need money to not have money. But guided
Protection.
with, protected by our
Umbrella.
Provided by the new our new economic umbrella, something. Resource-based economy. We will be successful because the main deterrents to this are the lack of a coordinated or fair economy.
Well, economy is the word we use to describe the old money system.
Yeah.
That's a language we're going to outgrow. And we don't want to touch on that right now because it freaks people out. Let them explore that themselves is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
when we get into the breakout rooms about, okay, this breakout room is about creating a central bank that supplies our people with our money, that we don't need the old system anymore. We've got our own money. Thank you. When we get into that, let that discussion part come out there. But right now we're trying to get people excited and in the door and telling everybody about it. So we are creating an intentional city in the cloud where we learn to unify the change makers all around the world with the intention of saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth.
I know what we're missing.
What?
Unifying and supporting.
Supporting. Oh, yeah. So
By unifying and giving support to the change makers
yeah, there we're going.
that will bring us into the new paradigm.
That's what we're talking about. There, do that. What he said. Hey, Christopher, good thought. So where we support our change makers. That's the point. Everybody that's doing change makings on the front line, there are change makers. We want to support our own people. Why aren't we supporting our own? Those are our own. They're frontliners.
Yeah, just look at how every city in America supports their first responders, right?
Yeah.
Police and fire. I mean, they essentially walk on water, in our cities. They're our first responders. So we will have, let's call these first responders for Mother Earth, because everyone knows about first responders. We've got to support our first responders. If you're a first responder, come here. You will be supported. That's the promise.
Yeah.
And the first level of support is what we have right here. We're talking with each other. We're offering our listening. Attention is currency. The first shot in the arm you get is our listening, right?
Yeah,
Come
that's
here.
why.
You will be heard. You will be heard. You will be listened to.
Even if you go off topic for 20 minutes, you'll still be heard.
You'll still be heard. Now,
So
we're going to get
here
better
we are.
and better.
Wait.
Pardon?
So here we are with where we learn to support our first responders and change makers all around the world. First responders sounds like emergency. Change makers have been around doing this work for 50 years. I'm a change maker. I'm not necessarily going to respond to an emergency, but I am a slow growing change maker. Been at it for a long time. Most of them have.
Yeah. Well, we've had change makers throughout our history, but you'll notice that what are we? Societies have risen and fallen. I think because we don't support our change makers. I like that. Right now we're supporting a bunch of what should be our change makers and our peacekeepers in government, and they're not doing shit for us.
I know.
Why should it be so hard for us to support people that are doing what's good for us?
Well, we have to do that. The government's not going to take care of the people we're talking to. They're on the front lines right now.
What I'm saying is right now, we're giving all this money where it's not doing its job.
Exactly. We need to state that somehow. We need to let them know that this city is where you come in to get supported and where you learn how to unify all of the organizations, all of the change makers. And it's us supporting our people. We need to somehow get that across. It's a different paradigm than, my tax dollars goes into supporting the police, and they do jack. And they're out tracing jugs. Why aren't they out doing education about drugs or whatever. I loved it when they had this, I don't know where it went, but somewhere in the news, they were talking about defunding the police. I go, yeah, let's do that. Don't keep giving them better riot gear,
Yeah,
show them how to.
and it's crazy because we give them riot gear and then we send them out to help mentally ill people, to a situation where it's mentally ill people are causing, some small kerfuffle, and they're out. So their answer is to go out there with military gear and shoot them, you know?
Well, let's make sure that our audience knows that we're inventing this so that we can create a source to take care of our own people. That's our ultimate goal. We're going to move away from the needs of any money from the old system, and we're going to take care of our own. And you're part of that. And you can get into this discussion. Well, how would you apply for a grant if you could do that? What does your organization need? How can we support you? Go ahead.
I've got an ooh, which is that out of this city in the clouds, right? Which has this whole world view, this holistic view, we will be able to identify places on the earth where we can create physical intentional communities that have the whole support of the city in the clouds, right? Because the thing is, the city in the clouds is going to be the greatest concentration of collective intelligence. In fact, it'll be the first collective super intelligence at a concentrated node, right up in the clouds.
Type that here, what you just said about the collective consciousness. Say that.
I'll type it right now.
Okay. We don't want to lose that thought.
This city in the clouds will become the first concentrated node of collective super intelligence in the world, ... And it will be like that Pink Panther movie where Dreyfus created this laser beam that could destroy anything. But in our case, it will be a benevolent laser beam of concentrated intelligence that in an instant will be able to figure out and solve any problem anywhere.
We did that today. The people that came on, the organizations they talked about and represented, everybody today was all about that. And the thing I keep getting back to, it's already invented. They're just fragmented. Today, I found out more information than I have in the last 4 years.
Exactly. It's all about creating the city in the clouds of collective super intelligence, because then we'll just have this laser beam. Oh, you need that? Boom, Glow's got the answer. Oh, there's an app that does that. Here it is, right? Oh,
okay,
you need
so
to
we're talking about a central
intelligence agency, a new CIA, right? No, but no, sorry, no, but it is a centralized city, and one of its characteristics will be collective super intelligence, right? Which is a very real thing, by the way, and we're just like almost there. In fact, it's one of the things I love about what we're creating here is it's one of those things that in hindsight, it was obvious, right? Here we were, a bunch of cowboys and cowgirls out in the Wild West, trying to build a little fire on the windy, rainy prairie and not getting very far, when what we needed was a city that could really take us all in and give us shelter, give us protection, like Marco's saying, the city in the clouds.
We need protection and we need support in there somehow. So, but here's the thing. We don't want to speed way ahead of ourselves. We're not about forming intentional communities yet. We need to learn, if we're going to learn how to unify anything, it's all of our organizations. Because if all those organizations we heard about today were all on the same Zoom call, they would have their own super intelligence. They'd go, yeah, your app covers this and mine doesn't, but let's put them together and we'll make this one that belongs to the city in the clouds. It's no longer my app, my idea. I ran across that when I started at Future Now Radio. I interviewed Michael Tellinger and Roxanne Meadows and on the same day. They hate each other. They don't talk to each other. I didn't mention to one that I was going to be interviewing the other, right? But the way it looks to the general public is, oh, here's this interesting conversation from the Venus Project. And oh, here's this interesting conversation from the Ubuntu contributionism. Oh, that's interesting. You know, the people out there didn't know that I went against the wishes of both of them to put them on the same radio station. Oh my God, you know, because they have their own ideas about everything. You don't put Zeitgeist in the same movement as Ubuntu. You know, you don't, you know what I mean? So we need to learn to unify those things. And that's what this city is for, is if once we unify and we feel supported, we can do anything with that.
I love it. In fact, one thing that comes to mind, since it's a city in the clouds, we can do it. We can create our own laws and our own rules. And one of them will be everything is open source. Everything is an intellectual commons. If you come and contribute an idea to the city in the clouds, it's an asset of the entire city. It's an asset of the entire world to leverage.
That's not a new concept. You know, that's the Venus Project and Zeitgeist you just explained there. You know, that's not new. And
Yeah.
the people that we're talking to, they know all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so the people, who's our target? The people we want to come to this next press conference are the people that are already in the arena. This is not the general public, my next door neighbor that has no clue what's going on and thinks that Fox is the truth. You know, that's not who we're inviting to this. We're inviting the change makers, the people doing the changes. That's who we want this invitation to our first press conference to be to. That's who we're aiming at. The same people that were here today, plus multiply that.
I love it. I love it. That's it. And so we're creating an intentional city in the clouds of all the change makers in the world. I think that can be our tagline right here. Let me voice dictate it.
Oh, love it. Love it.
We are creating an intentional city in the clouds, comma, of all of the change makers in the world. Period.
Yes.
Finally, a safe haven for change makers, exclamation point.
Okay.
We're going to be learning skills about how to collaborate and unify ourselves. There's skills in that. I have a whole workshop on that I do. When I went to intentional communities, like the first thing I taught them was the skills it took to unify. You know, it's a long process. So, I mean, I could see myself giving a weekly class, you know, every week on skills to learn how to collaborate. There's a bunch of stuff there. It's a whole different encyclopedia in itself. But the point is, they're going to come here to our city like it's the best university in the world, and they're going to learn skills and how to unify.
Yeah, in fact, one of the assets of the city is a university, right?
Yeah.
Let's call it the University of the Universe. It's the University of the Universe because we're drawing not just on stuff from the world, but all the stars and astrology and other worlds and everything.
Yeah.
So the University of the Universe up in the clouds, where else? And, you know, the first program is how to unify. The core track is how to unify. And we put it into practice by inviting. You know, one of the first things we do is invite all the other change makers. It's time to get all the change makers together, right?
Now we're getting it. Now we're on it. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
okay,
Marco, yeah.
To be clear, are we saying city in the clouds, or are we saying city in the cloud because we're doing it digitally right now?
Well, it's really both. It's, for one thing, we're liberating ourselves from the normal constraints of Earth. It is cloud-based because we're all in the zoomosphere, right? And you know, it's like there's different layers. There's the ionosphere, the stratosphere, the whatever. Well, there's the zoomosphere, right? And so we're creating a city in the clouds, precisely in the zoomosphere, right?
Yeah, say that. Here, write all this down. You're losing it. If I could keep up with you, I'd write it down, but you say it so eloquently.
Here.
So
there are multiple layers in the sky, ... one of which is the zoomosphere. And we are creating our city in the clouds precisely in the zoomosphere. There, I'm just voice dictating stuff into the chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's and then yeah, the university here. I'll dictate again. The caps on University of the Universe, caps off, comma, where the core foundational track is how to unify ...
Learning skills on how to unify.
Developing and teaching skills on how to unify. Because we're developing the skills right here. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't have a skill, let's develop it. What do we need? Right?
Yeah.
So, and marketing 101, how do we make this maximally attractive to the change makers who are already out there in the world, ... but lost because they lack a city-home, ... which is precisely this city in the clouds we are co-creating.
And you might want to put in there Marco's idea of they're lacking support and protection at the city, in the clouds or something.
They lack support and protection, ... which is
That's why they're not unified right now. They don't
why
feel
they are not
supported.
unified! Exclamation point.
Yeah.
No, I mean, here's a true story. I was mentioning this the other day, with all the transformational things we're doing here with the conversation.cc, the press conference and everything, I have been the subject of 2 character assassination attempts, which didn't come from, the white supremacists or the Trump administration. No. They came from within one of the biggest transformational communities out there,
Wow.
who we were supposed to be collaborating with and all this. And, 2 major character assassination attempts directed at me.
Wow.
And I had to fight hard to, state my truth and defend against these attempts.
See, this is what I'm talking about. We don't know anything about how to unify anything.
No, in fact, we do the opposite. We see
Uh-huh.
someone else sticking their head up and we want to take out our gun and shoot them down. We,
Yeah.
speaking as humanity in the old rules, the old system, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and in fact, I really like that starting point that you keep bringing us back to, which is a reminder, we do not know how to unify. We've never done it before.
We
So
have
let's quit.
no patterns. We have no models. We've never been given the opportunity ever to unite ourselves. We just follow along like sheep,
Well, we've never been able to unite ourselves because we've always believed the lie that there isn't enough.
Yeah,
Scarcity.
that's it. Exactly.
So there's still a couple of one gem there that you both missed. But okay, we're doing everything we said, building this city in the clouds, and this city will become the umbrella to protect all our terrestrial projects. But we
Love it. Write it down. Say it out loud.
I'm happy to voice dictate if that'll help, because that way it all gets into the chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
This city will protect all of the terrestrial projects down on the surface of the earth.
It will become the umbrella that protects, because that umbrella is.
It will become the umbrella that protects the terrestrial projects.
What we need now,
all around the world.
But what we need now from you is currency. And that currency, the currency we need is your attention, because your attention is the currency. You said that earlier, Jim, and attention is currency.
Yeah, I like that when
We
you
need
said
to work that
What
in
we
there.
need right now is currency, dot, dot, dot. And the most precious currency in the world
Is time.
is time and attention and focus, dot, dot, dot. And the number one industry in this city in the clouds is taking this time and attention and spinning it into golden focus on precisely those initiatives which are building out the infrastructure of the city, and transforming it, building it, growing it into this utopia of saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth, which is fast becoming the city to lead the world through this transitional phase of history.
I'm loving all of it. I wish this were in some way where I could pull it apart and rewrite it and delete and all that. I can't do any of that here, can I?
No, but in the chat, you can just take the, yeah.
Copy and paste the chat into a Google document.
Oh, there you go.
That's it. Yeah, we can edit it later. But right now, I say we just let it flow. Just let it flow.
Just let it flow.
Yeah.
But don't forget to capture the stuff that's flowing. So just
The most,
say again what you just said.
No, it's all there in the chat.
Oh.
I was voice
So-
dictating.
right,
Oh.
so to loop back and play with it a little bit more, it's like when okay, we're building the city in the clouds, we know all that, but when building a city, the first thing you need is currency to be able to do the work. Right now, the most important currency you already have, your time, attention, and focus, time, and attention. I know we had them in there earlier.
Oh, it's there. It's there.
Is it? I probably do need to put this over in a Google Docs because I have a tendency to want to chop things and move things.
Yeah.
And so let's see, how do I do this? Wait.
I mean, you can always save the chat, and then that, creates a Zoom file and it saves the chat. I don't like the format it transfers it into.
I don't either.
I just
Let me
copy,
just
and
copy it.
paste it, copy it from the chat, and I paste it into a Google document.
There you go.
Just update it every so often. My last update was at 6:34, so I got some more copying to do.
Okay. Give me a second here. All right, so now I have a Google Docs here. Now I want to put the zoomology right in the very beginning so people get it.
The Zoomosphere.
We're creating a city in the Zoomosphere.
Yeah, a city in the Zoomosphere, a city in the clouds, and it's precisely in the Zoomosphere. And in fact, we could even do like a funny image where we show like there's the stratosphere, the ionosphere, the atmosphere, the whatever, and somewhere up there where the clouds are, the Zoomosphere, right?
I'm really good at doing slideshows. I might just do a slide of that. The reason I like doing slideshows is because I put one thought per slide. And it's real easy to keep my focus.
Ananda, you do such a great job of slide. That's one thing I've been meaning to commend you on. Last week, when you did that slideshow on intentional communities, there was just like a perfect image with every concept you were explaining, and that image, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you
Yeah.
were just, so we were able to just download.
Oh, so this whole thing we're doing here is a slideshow. I'll have it done by the next by the next press conference. So here's the thing. We want to make an announcement about the next press conference, and then we'll show the slideshow of all of these things here to explain. Okay, so we're all here. Somehow we get them in the door with some exciting announcement of our experiment at our next conference with lots of surprises and, whatever. And they get all the surprises in the slideshow once they get there, rather than making this one whole sentence. Well, I take it back. So I'm imagining me getting an email that says, our next exciting press conference is on Thursday at such and such a time, and we're running an amazing experiment. It's about creating a city in the clouds.
An intentional city.
An intentional city in the clouds. Come on in and learn all about it, and something like that. And then I'll put together an amazing slideshow that explains each one of these steps that we talked about right here. And they'll be sold by the time they get done with the slideshow.
Yeah.
And the location is in the Zoomosphere, in the above the continent of change makers, above the continent of change makers, because there's this continent, but it's like wild Africa, where people are going around with jeeps with machine guns on the back, and they're taking shots at each other, and they're saying, my turf, no, my turf, my app, no, this, hey, that guy's sticking his head out, let's go character assassinate him. Right. And so it's in the Zoomosphere, and it's right above the continent of change makers, and it provides this safe haven in the clouds. So get the hell off the earth and into the intentional city in the clouds, a city of change making.
Will you
right?
record all that you just said?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick here for a minute.
Here, I'm gonna voice dictate now.
Okay.
The location of this intentional city in the clouds, is in the Zoomosphere layer of the atmosphere, the Zoomosphere layer of clouds, the Zoomosphere cloud layers, and it is right above the continent of change makers, with emphasis on above, right? Like down below, there's all this fighting and there's all this turf wars and all that, because they're fighting over land in the old paradigm, where land is something that you divide up and conquer and apply totalitarian agriculture to and destroy everything. And here, I'm just going to enter that. Okay, and then I can keep going. And so kind of like those sci-fi movies where you're in the most deadly spot possible, and then you press a button and choom, you go up, right? So look up and then go up. Join us in the clouds, right? And in fact, we could dredge up some old quotes from Lando Calrissian, The Empire Strikes Back, where we say, quote, "You really do belong with us here in the clouds," unquote. Remember when he said that to Princess Leia?
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's the thing. The whole Star Wars, the original trilogy, not this garbage, this 7-Eleven garbage that they crank out in the recent
right?
ones, right? But the original trilogy, it was all about the power of the myth. And he worked with, who was that mythologist dude, Joseph Campbell. So George Lucas worked with Joseph Campbell, and it was all about embodying these fundamental timeless myths of salvation, renewal, transformation, heroism, unity, etc., but put in such a great story. So we can borrow a lot from that. Why not? Let's borrow. It should be open source anyway. Let's borrow from that mythology. And yeah, going on mute. And Christopher, love to hear from you. So just jump in anytime.
I was thinking of Zoomosphere would be ZOOM.
Yeah, the dictation doesn't spell right all.
Oh yeah, when I dictate, I don't worry about spelling.
Okay,
Zoomosphere, it could be like that.
Yeah.
Zoomosphere. Yeah.
I'm so jealous Apple dictation works way better than Google. I wish mine worked like.
What's that, Christopher? Oh, the voice dictation.
Yeah, it's way better. You can actually, you don't have to watch it like a hawk. Mine, I gotta watch it when I'm typing, or else, you know, who knows what'll come out of it. They're talking dirty.
you know what?
to
I hate to
whoever's seeing
interrupt,
it,
but
and it's not mine, but
I'm a life coach and I have a client that's been waiting all day to talk to me. I'm going to jump off for a little bit and take her call. You guys just go ahead and whatever you cover, put over here, type it out because I'm going to make a slideshow of it all. So go ahead and just go wild. I'm going to check out for a bit and take my client call.
Do you have a rough ETA? Like half an hour, or what's your
Half hour. Yeah.
Okay,
half hour.
perfect.
All right.
I'm gonna pause recording for a little bit.
See you all.
Sorry, Jane, and I was away a few minutes longer than I expected to be.
Yeah. Well, we've been at this all day long for 6 hours. We've been at
No
this.
problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been here since noon my time, and it's now 9.
Wow. You know, maybe at this point we should just take a break and digest what we've done already. I'm going to do some wordsmithing here, and we'll come back whenever we agree on the fact that we've had some rest, and we'll come back with a fresh mind.
The problem with that, Ananda, is that Jamin has gone and left the recording on. So, and I just got here, and I'm kind of interested in knowing a little bit more about what you guys have been talking about.
Oh, well, when will
I know you've been on for such a long time, Marco. Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm still good.
My hero.
I just, I'll
And I wouldn't ask Ananda, except that I know that you just had a break. And so I'm curious. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you.
Well, this is actually perfect because we have been wordsmithing and brainstorming and coming up with BFOs all the last maybe couple hours of this call. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been, but for the
9.
last while we've been at it. And it's so good that we have a new person here as fresh ears, because
so you're gonna run it by me and tell me.
we
all
can't
you
wait to
know.
explain to you what we're up to and on
Excellent.
fresh ears.
And you're both fond of acronyms.
Yeah, acronyms,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a few to share with you. I look forward to what it's okay. Let's start with BFO. What is a BFO?
A blinding flash of the obvious. And it's a doinker,
I
like,
knew you'd like that.
oh, I
Oh,
got
it's a flat forehead moment.
oh.
Yeah.
That's how everything comes through me. And you know what? I am driven to follow it, because every time I get a BFO, it's always something that's true. And if it seems really even crazy, I follow it anyway. And it's always, always right on. So let me explain to you where we're at. We've spent the entire day talking to people about the possibility of creating an umbrella organization where the point of the umbrella organization is to take care of our own people.
Mhm.
Take care of the change makers, because they're all out there working and they all have causes and they all have important things we're doing on the planet. But, there's nobody supporting them. There's no protection for them.
I know. I'm one of them.
Yes.
There's
Go ahead, Marco.
Oh, I didn't realize I was unmuted. I was just trying to figure out how to let David in. He's already in.
I have the power, and I took it upon myself.
Do you
I
mind
know David deserves to.
co-hosting?
Hi, David.
Shannon,
You want to be co-host too?
please?
Oh, I would be happy to give you co-host. Marco Moore,
Oh,
co-host. Done.
this is wonderful. Just the people that needed to be here are here. Okay.
Funny how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ananda was just telling me about the umbrella organization they have in mind.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so what we're realizing is that all of the change makers have brilliant ideas. And today we got to see an example of so many amazing change makers out there building apps and making databases and blending, looking for ways to make umbrella organizations happen, like sharing databases. And it was an extremely important day to be a part of, because we validated that it is true that there are so many change makers out there, and whatever we're wishing for right now is already done.
Absolutely.
It's already done. There's somebody that's already been doing it. So we thought, well, okay, this is cool. There's all these organizations, but we've never had a school about how to unify our organizations. There's skills in learning how to collaborate.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we've got all of these, segments of everybody out there doing great things, change makers for the world. And so we decided what really our next step in the human race is to unify all of the change makers under an umbrella that supports them and protects them and even funds them. So we're coming up with this idea of creating this umbrella organization, and we want to run it as an experiment. So what we're doing right now is we're wordsmithing the invitation into the next press conference, which is going to be organized around focusing on the importance of collaborating and unifying all the change makers. Did I do well on that, Marco? Did I explain that pretty succinctly?
Yep, sounded excellent.
All right.
Timing's impeccable.
Sounds like it's
So
me.
that's 6 hours worth of, or actually 7 hours now of what we've been through all day long.
That's amazing.
There wasn't one single person on the call that wasn't wonderful and valid and important and passionate about what they're doing. And so we came up with an understanding that it's the and the and. Now let me explain that. The is putting all of our energy together to create the umbrella organization. And we all need to focus on that. In addition, there's the and we don't want people to lose focus of their and, because everybody there had some passion about some project they're into, and that's their and. So we want to approach them and let them know that we don't want you to give up your and in order to focus on the. We want you to keep your and, but we want you to put a small amount of time and a small amount of money and a small amount of energy into the organization that's going to umbrella everything. And we came up with different numbers and scenarios and, trying, what's it feel like to have just a small amount of, we've tried the experiment today of, well, what would it feel like if you gave 30 minutes a week and $1 a month? Do you think that you could do your and, all the stuff you do in your and already, plus a small amount of time, 30 minutes a week and $1 a month? Could you do that? And we went around and everybody, yeah. And that's not in place of your and. We don't want people to lose their and.
No. Yeah.
But we need the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I catch that.
So we went off on that brainstorm for a while about how important the and is, because all of these organizations are made up of the ands. All of these change makers have an and. But they can't have just their and, because we need the. So we're dreaming that the umbrella organization will have a consistent amount of money coming in every month through autopay, like $1 a month. And we're imagining we'll get our membership up to maybe 1 million or 2 million people. We'll spread like wildfire. We'll get it all done. There were people on the call today that talked about certain organizations that have, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they're huge. And, so if we're thinking, we're dreaming, what if we got 1 million people in there, all of them paying autopay by autopay, $1 a month, which means every single month we have $1 million to spend. And then we get to have the fun of coming together as a group and having money to make decisions with and decide where that'll go. So people will have to submit grants, submit applications like you do a grant. We'll have our own grant foundation, and we'll have a foundation committee, just like they do in the big corporate worlds, the big, private worlds, and all the, philanthropists and all of that. We'll have our own. The thing is, we're going to create our own way of taking care of our own people. We're not going to need the money of a corporation or a foundation or of a grant or, crowdfunding or any of that. We're going to have our own. So we imagined, what if we had $1 million coming in every single month? So we decided that a really good activity would be to go around and ask people, if you could write a grant for your organization, what would you need a grant for right now? And some people said, well, gee, I would just like to be able to buy an additional phone. And some people said, well, I'd like to be able to pay the people that organize all of the meditations, because they put a lot of time into that. And somebody else says, well, I just need some help hosting my website or whatever. And then people came, oh, there's free websites here and there, And so the whole thing just started going around and around. But the point was that that's what we would do. We'd create an umbrella that supported all of the changemaker organizations and then protected them. And we'll do it ourselves. Thank you very much. And so we got to dreaming about what would it be like if we no longer needed the support of a greedy money-making system. Now, everybody that's in the change-making organizations, they're all of them, millions of them, are headed towards a vision of a time when they don't need the money. But they can't get there until they use the old world money in order to organize their new organizations, so we don't need money. So we want to just support them for now, knowing full well that they're going to outgrow the whole need for the greed and the injustice that money has served us so far. We're going to all go there. So let's see, where else am I going?
Like,
oh, we were just told about so many wonderful organizations. They got to come in and share what they're doing and what they're about. And oh, it was just such a wonderful, wonderful day.
I'm so glad. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I'm so glad for you, Ananda.
Oh,
What
it's-
I'd like to offer is that the umbrella corporation or an entity that you are considering is very much in alignment with the plan that Gaia gave me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really in alignment.
See, there's so many things already in alignment. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
What we learned
this
today is there's so many stuff that's already done. So why aren't they unified and why aren't we taking care of them?
Because there isn't one. There are so many, and we have not found a way to come together. And so what you're doing is exactly what needs to be done. And I honor you for doing it. I want to offer you the container that is our heart gardens. I don't. That's the plan that Gaia gave me. I would also like to ask you if you have considered seeds. It's a type of currency. Yeah. Okay. Have you decided on a currency? Because in seeds, they have exactly what you've been describing.
Yes. We learned that today. And that's the first time I've heard of it. So there was so much information that was so new today that, we just need to get everybody in the same room.
Here we are.
Well, I'm talking about, we want the Seeds people there. We want the Resource-Based Economy United there. We
Yeah.
want the Giveth there. We want the Only One there. We want the media. We want the Viral Purpose Media. We want Sign there. We want Be Free Social. We want the Human Connector Social Project. We want
All
the
of them.
Earth Fund. We want the SIMBI there. We want the Milky Wire. All of those guys do the same thing.
Yeah.
Put them in the same room.
Yeah.
With a facilitator that knows how to train people in learning the skill of how to collaborate. So we've got a very kind of let's see, let me think of the word. We've got a very magical way to explain what we're doing in lots of really fun language. And actually, I'm not going to share that with you right now because it's really rough. And myself and Marco and Christopher and Jamin have all been working on it for a couple of hours now. And we were just getting really alive with it. And I needed to take a coaching call and whatever. Anyway, so the point is that what we've got right now is a whole bunch of splattered things on the canvas, and when we get that all straightened out, we're going to share it with everybody with an invitation to please come to our next press release that's going to be very organized and focused around this idea of having a universal open source umbrella organization.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So it's a
indeed.
very magical invitation. We want to add structure to it, and we want to offer some a school.
That's cool.
A school on how to collaborate, a school on how to unify ourselves, because there's skills there involved. You can't just do
Yeah.
it.
Oh, absolutely. Ananda, I want to ask, have you been over to Humanity Rising yet?
You know something?
What?
I'll tell you. My history is that, let's see, where does this start? I'll tell you a little bit about Ananda. You guys don't even know me, but I've got a lot of Ananda stories. So I think my change of events started when I went to go visit the Venus Project in Florida. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I went there and I walked on those grounds and I offered my time up and whatever they needed, because suddenly I got this. Have you ever been there to the Venus Project? Well, you could walk through there and you could see all of these models that Jacques Fresco put together. And all of a sudden it became real to me. I've been hearing about the Venus Project since I was at the Twin Oaks Intentional Communities Conference back in the early 70s. I've been following them for that long, but I finally went there and I offered to help them any way I could. In fact, I even said I was going to stop my travels and I was going to move in to the city next door and I was going to be available to them and whatever they needed me to do, because for the first time, it really became a reality to me.
Yeah.
So I did. I moved to the next town over and I was ready to drive there every day if they needed me to. And at first I started working in archives where they would take some of these precious letters from these little children that would write Jacques Fresco these letters about the future and stuff. And my job was to archive them. You had to be in a very air-conditioned room and wear gloves. And it was like, oh, the documents were very, very touchy. Some of them were very old letters from the children. And once they got all the documents digitized, they were going to make a movie of it. Well, my car died about a few weeks before COVID hit. So I couldn't get out there anymore. And so I wondered what I was going to do with my time. And I had a space given to me as my studio. And I sat in that space during COVID and I wrote a book. And the book is called How the People Elected New Systems for President. I got really hooked on Steve Saylor. You guys know him? You know who Steve Saylor is? No? Do you?
Yeah.
You do, David?
I've heard you mention the last time I was here. I don't know.
Yeah, Steve Saylor is a real man who ran for presidency, and he had all these ideas, just like what we're talking about. He's very, very forward thinking and the whole thing. And I started to imagine, wonder what it would be like if this guy won the presidency. And so I wrote a whole story, an imaginary story about what it would be like if we had the right kind of president in the House. And actually what we learned was it's really not anything to do with politics. You can't put the right president in the House because there's too many puppets trying to run him. But so anyway, I wrote the book, and then I read the book to people, common, ordinary people who have absolutely no clue that anything is going on besides Fox News. And what happened with those people that were common, ordinary people, once they read my book about an imaginary new future, they started to actually imagine that maybe we could have something different. And they woke up. And I said, oh, I want to read more people my story.
Wow.
And so there was not enough of me to go around. And so I decided to create a radio station that would read my story.
Yeah.
And so I co-created the Future Now Radio, and decided that I was going to go out and interview all of the change makers that are going on in the world. And so I have one interview after another. And if you want to, you can go to the Future Now Radio site and say, click here to listen to the talks. And it got very interesting. But what I realized was there's so many millions of change makers out there, and they're all dispersed out. They're all divided. And so here I am. I'm on another assignment now. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I'm on a land assignment here. I'm building community stuff here. But I get all of my time and my utilities and my food and everything for free because I'm here being in service. So I have access to the very fast internet, and I have my room, my private room that you see behind me, and I have you guys. And so I came out of writing that book and running that campaign for Steve Saylor and understanding that there's so many millions of organizations out there. Well, I only touched the iceberg with the few people that I have on my radio station. Today, I found out about more organizations that I never even heard of, all in 6 hours. It's like, oh my God, I have to interview all of those guys for Future Now Radio. I have to do them all. But and the more and the more and the more and the more I learn, the more and more I learn that whatever we wish for right now is already done. There's already people out there doing the seeds thing. There's already people out there with these fragmented ideas, these fractional ideas of, you know, how we're going to help the world. And what I know that is for sure, I know what that is. That's called Source speaking through all of us. It's because all of us are getting this message. Everybody who's inspired right now is getting the message.
And it's happening right now.
It's happening right now.
It's happening right now. When I heard of the conversation, bells rang out.
Yeah, they did.
I know that this is part of the one coming together, becoming aware of itself. This is where the spark is. I also want to bring your attention to Humanity Rising and the after chat that happens after it. Because Humanity Rising was created by Ubiquity University back when the lockdown occurred because of the pandemic. And they did 7 days a week, a panel discussion, talking with Indigenous people, scientists, social architects, people who are connected to the land and people who are connected to the tech. They are, they've cut it back to 5 days a week now, thank God, because there's a group of us who have dubbed ourselves the chat people because we're the people from the chat that happens during Humanity Rising. And there is an atmosphere that we create through our honest, heartfelt contributions. And we have created an after chat that is dynamic, and it gets us talking together.
You know something, somebody else, I don't remember who it was today, shared the exact same information that you're sharing with me now. This is part of what I didn't know today.
Yeah.
And I'm so thrilled. See, this is one of those things where it's already happening. We just need to unify it with everybody else. And you don't need to give up your and. You can have the Humanity Rising and
Yeah.
both, and we can
Oh,
slide
it
on
is
time into unifying.
important that we have the and, because
Oh,
part of what
yeah.
I believe is that our passions are the important parts. Those are the gifts that we've been given in order to create the new world that we desire.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if we turn our backs on our gifts, that's what we get when we do what we've done. And so we need to start listening to the things that we're good at and the things that make our hearts sing.
Exactly. Because
And
if we were to put out an organization out there, say we're going to form a umbrella organization and didn't make room for the and, we would get, I mean, what would happen? You know what? I need to take a few minute break here. I need to run off to the restroom. So you guys
okay.
just keep on talking. I'm going to mute myself and I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Wow.
Hey, Marco. Hey, David, how you doing?
Oh, I jumped into this room at the exact perfect moment. Among other things in my life, I'm a lot of things. First of all, I have the gift that after working 24 years with LA County Child Protective Service, since 2013, I'm retired.
Congratulations.
So and I'm not married. I have no connection. My children are very firmly entrenched in the lives they're living, and we have the connection that we can. And I don't need to be the doting daddy or doting grandfather right now. They're doing just fine, thank you. And they just know that their dad's just kind of weird hippie going off doing his things, kind of, because that's who I am. I mean, I grew up in the 60s. I graduated from high school in 65. So,
yes.
So I was reading Course in Miracles tonight. I'm a student at Course in Miracles, and I'm also I've been the last 6 months I've been in the training to become a group study leader in taking people through the text of the course. So I'm reading this section tonight, and it's a section in the early part of the Principles where Jesus is talking to Helen Schucman, who's the scribe of the course. And he's saying to her, this particular moment, it's really important that you give over the minutiae of your life to me. All the things that you think are important and are just bogging you down. Give them over, let me take care of them so that you can take care of the important things, the things you were born here to do. And what hit me tonight, what hit me tonight was I really heard the heartfelt invitation there from Jesus. That place. And I've been doing things. I've been part of the mythopoetic men's movement since 1990, and I'm a storyteller and I'm a drummer and all kinds of things. And so I have all kinds of skills. I've also been very, very active. I've done retreats with Michael Meade. So I've had really immense personal connected experience with community building. Oh, and one of the things Michael Meade has said for a long time, and he's been saying, and we may be, and hearing what some of the things I'm hearing here, we may be finally shifting away from that. But one of the things he said, given where, and this is understand, he's talking back in the 90s and early 2000s, in the context of the things he was saying back then. It's like, we need to understand at this moment, and then we may not move from it for quite a while, is we will not have actual community. All we will have at this moment are maybe moments of community to move us through. So I'm getting a sense that maybe we're finally in this place where there's been enough moments that people are finally looking intuitively to find ways of pulling it together. And the part that I've really been catching on, this is important for me, is that people, I do this too. When I get in these meetings and we're talking about all these things, I put on this veneer as though I know what I'm doing. And the bottom line is, I have no fucking idea where to go with this shit. And here's the piece that I'm giving you right now. That place that allows me to laugh about it is a core piece of my teaching. It's a core piece of the biggest part of the gift I've been gifted with in this life is understanding, first of all, the gift of allowing myself to embody my emotions. And even more importantly, understanding the price of when I don't do that. And what the price that we have paid collectively as a humanity for not doing that.
Yes.
So I come here, and I don't know how, because I've done this stuff before, to teach that place of inviting people to come on in and feel. Come on in and admit you don't know where you're going, and admit how it feels, and let's run with it and see where it takes it. That's what I'm bringing. I don't have any grant ideas. I don't have no fucking idea how to write a grant. How do you even approach that stuff? But I know there's some way that I'm supposed to be of service. So it's kind of like, so here I am. And that's it, sweetheart. That's it.
Oh, just a second. I just got a moment. Yes, I want.
Marco, it's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you, David. Glad you came in when you did.
Me too.
I have a silly question. Some I don't know why. I can't even remember who asked me today. But did they change the password for Good of the Whole?
Not that I know of. I've been on there.
Or the connection field? They're the same thing, right? Yeah.
Is an organizational arm of,
Right.
of the whole. Yeah.
But somebody came asked me today, did they change I couldn't get logged in. What do I do? I'm like, sorry, I don't know what.
I logged in yesterday. I didn't log in today because I didn't have time to go in there. So if I don't, I have phone numbers for a few people that I can call. I have Kate's phone number and I have Claudia's phone number. So
Okay.
if I go in and find out that's true, I'll give them a call and I'll get back to it, because I think I have your phone number also.
Yeah, you should have.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, geez, that's I can answer some Zoom questions, but not specific to other passwords for other organizations.
Yeah, that's specific to the organization. And I don't. It may be that they've changed it occasionally. We've had this password for at least 3 or 4 months, and every once in a while, so someone gets a hold of it, and they come in and they start Zoom bombing.
Yeah, because I know during the MLK weekend there was a pretty bad Zoom bombing experience. They had to shut the whole thing down because they were coming through wearing swastikas and saying, "Oh, you dirty, go back where you came from." And
yeah,
I don't understand people like that.
They're just. I really understand that those people, and me too. I mean, there's a part of me in them. I mean, everything out there that's really ugly and doing terrible stuff. I am that. I was and I am George W. Bush and I am Donald Trump.
And we have choice.
No, there are parts of me that are that.
Mm-hmm.
So the part that I catch is where people are in that place of acting out. They're literally walking tape recorders. There's no making contact with them.
Yeah.
And the reason I know that is I have parts of myself that function that way. Yeah. And still do. In fact, I'm gonna say the vast majority of the way I function right now is still in that way, and I'm doing well compared to other people. But collectively, we are so immersed in our shit and functioning in our shit, and can't even come to the place of saying, I'm lost in my shit. we're lost in our shit. In the place that we're sitting here, all the wonderful things we're saying, there's a place there where we're lost in our shit. And for me, I'm really catching more and more and more that we're not, until we can really come to grips with that's our reality. It's my reality. Until I can come to grips with that, for me, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere.
Oh, I forgot. We didn't. I don't think we mentioned when you came in. We are recording right now.
Are we?
He would have got a flash message as he came in. Did you not?
No,
No, it's okay. I don't mind recording.
Oh,
I
good.
don't think I'm saying anything.
I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. I forgot we were doing that. I just.
Yeah. No, these days, my life's open book.
Yeah, if you did have an issue, and we late noticed you like that, then you would have the option to have us destroy it. So.
No, go for it. It's fine. Everything, I'm I've been a provocateur for a long time. 27 years in LA County. Besides being a social worker and a supervisor, I was also a union steward. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you heard it all.
And not only was I a union steward, but for 15 to 20 years, I was functioned as the chairman of the bargaining committee. So yeah, and I was the kind of guy who would stand on desks and scream things out to the populace, like Norma Ray. I mean, when we came back with a major contract in '89, I literally stood on the desk and told the folks, "We got it," in the morning, and administration and management of LA County usually took exception to the things I presented in meetings. They usually decided to speak the truth, and they didn't like to hear that. So they eventually, after 27 years, they found the event that precipitated my being let go, and it was wonderful. I was fired one day. The next day, I went and got my pension because they couldn't take my pension away from me because I wasn't fired for a felony. So
Wow.
they had no basis to take it away. So I got fired and got my pension, and a month later, the union negotiated with them me to resign for personal reasons, and the discharge was taken off my record. But so I something in me was able to function through my whole life as a 60s radical. It kind of toned down a little bit from what happened in the 60s, but I functioned in that way. I had no problem in speaking truth, because that's more important to me than anything else. The truth should set you free. It does. Every time it does. My truth about where I am, where I'm struggling, where I'm fucking up, where I'm doing wonderful. It's important that I connect with the wonderful part, but it's also important that I connect with the other part. Tonight, I was watching. I've become a crazy again Lakers fan, LA Lakers fan, and it just so happens that next 2 weeks is the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death. And LeBron James got on the tube, and he said he's not going to touch the place of grief because he has to move forward. And in him saying that, what I really heard him saying was, I have to not touch the grief. And in the YouTube group that I was in, I left the text saying, I understand, the danger of getting lost in the depth of the grief, but it's also important to ignore the grief, even a year later. It's important to use the grief as energy, as fuel to move forward. And in so doing, by using that, and Kobe Bryant's just a model of that. But by taking the grief that I have about that and letting myself have it and feel it and express it and move through it, while I still pay attention to what I have to do, I honor Kobe. I honor what he brought to the world. I honor the people who continually are brushing up against the oppressive edges of our human heritage.
I want to honor you, David. Thank
you.
you very much for staying true to who you are and what you believe. I want to honor the need in you for seeing the times of the hippie honored for what they were,
Yeah.
and for the coming together of and what got me was you talked about, you know, being back in the 70s, the 60s and 70s, and I remember that time too.
Yeah.
And there was a moment of resonance in my life when I
Right.
had this feeling that, you know, I belong in an abandoned university with a whole bunch of rebels, and they're going to come and get me or something. And what really happened was in 2016, that is exactly where I found myself. And it was in Rotterdam. I was with United Earth and Robert Schramm. And what I also know is that Ananda knows Robert.
Mhm.
And I wanted to show you my little office here. This is just the new place that I get to play. And I've got things attached to my computer. But I wanted to show you this on my wall, which is a fridge, but it gets me to be able to use the United Earth Wheel of Synergy. And that was on the wall of our Synergy Hub 1. Synergy Hub number 1 in Rotterdam. And we were putting together exactly what Ananda has been talking about, apparently all day. And the umbrella organization that can hold us all. And I don't know if it is what they're doing now and if it's the one, it doesn't. What I know is that my and is our heart gardens. And in our heart gardens, we
Yeah.
have things like Jamin's The Conversation. And we have things like indoor gardens where we grow our food in our community so we don't have to truck it all over the country. And our surplus goes to something like what Jamin has come up with the Tesla truck and the iPhone of food. And I love the passions that are driving us to find solutions. And one of the hugest solutions that we need to do is what Ananda you're talking about today, is how do we all, the movement of movements that Paul Hawkins talked about, how do we see each other? I believe Humanity Rising is part of getting us talking to each other. And I believe that the conversation is where we'll do a lot of that
Mhm.
talking.
It's wonderful. For me, as an important element that I bring forward with that, and it's in the place where Ananda was talking about source. I got to understand that as a human, I got to understand that he's even as a collective of humans, it ain't gonna happen unless stay connected to source. For me, when I'm not connected to source, I become part of the fragmented whole, as opposed to the unified, synthesized, synthesized part that really functions in an integral way, organically, naturally, without even having to do it.
With spirit is what got me going. You
Yeah.
know, I call the manifestations of spirit, I call the magic in ordinary moments.
I got that. Yeah. Okay.
And that they happen for everybody. And
Yes.
you know, there are things that we get on our bandwagons and we beat our drums about. And the reason that I beat my drums so much about this is because we need to start listening inside in our hearts where God speaks to us. whatever name we call God. I call it Mom sometimes, I call it Gaia sometimes. I call my mom all sorts of different things too, and my dad, and everybody has many names. Why
Yeah.
should it be different for spirit?
Yeah. I've had an ongoing relationship with Jesus for a long time. And even though I have that, I've been able to resist joining the club they call being Christian.
Haha.
And with that, what I got a year and a half ago, thinking about, again, I'm a student in Course in Miracles, and you know, ostensibly Jesus is the author of it, you know. And so I got it really, it's like that moment that we talk about when he's on the cross and all that. What's really going on there? What's really going on there is at that moment, he is taking on the karmic debt of all of humanity, past, present, future, done. He's taking it all on to say, no more, it's not there. The law of karma is null and void.
Yeah. Well, it's now or never, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all getting tied up right now.
yeah. So
I wrote something this afternoon, David. I wonder if I might share it with you.
please do. Please do. And thank
Um,
you for listening to this.
Ananda, I'm so sorry to leave you. If you can stick around for this little reading, it's just a little bit of fun. I am the eye of the needle that draws the lifeline that threads the torus of time. We are one of that which is revealed through the inside of each of us, spun from inward to outward. Knowing we have and are enough, but not alone, we seek to hear the resonant call that Mom leads me to. There will be no doubt that my action is in alignment with the great plan.
Yes.
And I will take pleasure and joy to be of service.
Ashe.
I honor her and myself when I speak from my heart and act upon loving inspirations and considerations while holding others gently in my regard and in my speech.
Yeah.
And I will forgive myself for thoughtless actions that were or could be seen as bad or harmful. Make reparations if possible and find the lesson or gift. Honor it and bury it. Gaia will transmute it. In her darkness,
Ashe.
goodness is born.
Yes. That's beautiful.
I have one tiny little tweak to add to that beautiful, beautiful writing you just did. And it's in preparation for what we're really doing here. We'd like to invite you to change all of your I's to we's.
Absolutely.
That is a lovely invitation. Silly me. In a moment of epiphany on my knees by the river in my teenage years,
A BFO.
I spoke to the moon. Her beauty enraptured me, and my heart threw itself painfully at the moon. And I was confused by the pain, and I didn't understand. And my confusion I heard my mouth say, "Help me." And I had no hope. I didn't know I could ask. And yet my mouth said this, and I was so surprised. And in my surprise, I realized that I had been helped. And I thought to myself, oh, a boon from the moon is going to cost me. And I went scurrying around in my cranium looking for something that I had that she might appreciate, that I had, that I could offer her. And I heard my mouth say, I will speak for you. When the time is right, I will speak for you.
Here you go.
And I was, ever since then, I wondered who I'd be speaking for and what I would be saying.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned that I am one cell, one self in the one that we are.
Mm-hmm.
One cell who speaks for the you, the global, the collective I, that is the you I speak to and for.
Mm.
This is the fun part. Thank you, Ananda, for the invitation to speak for you.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I will. Thank you very much.
You are.
What a beautiful, precious gift.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have been so confused. I know my path, though. She guides me every step of the way. And I wave through life not knowing what I'm doing. And yet I am firmly on my path, showing how important it is to be ordinary and confused and listen to our hearts. Because she's got a much better perspective than we do. And we were divinely designed to be exactly how we are and who we are. I am deeply grateful for all it is. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking. And thank you for listening also.
This is the fun part.
Yeah.
It's been fun for me all day, but I do need to go.
Thank
All
you
right,
very
so-
much for stopping in and staying for that.
Yeah, my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
So
Jamin.
Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central,
Mhm.
the press conference.
We're
And
going
we'll
to have the slideshow already. And if you don't mind, Damon, I would like to Zoom call with just you and Marco and probably Christopher since he was there. No offense to anybody else, but we were on a roll with some words we were doing, and I'd like to finish those on that thought. So I want to have a knockout slideshow ready for that Thursday invitation. And I'd like to talk to you more about that. So
Well, I've been here for an hour and I think that's enough for tonight. And so
Okay.
I'm going to leave you guys and you guys have a great time, okay?
oh, thank you so much.
Bye.
Love you, Shannon, sister. See you
Love
soon.
you too. Bye for now.
Bye, Ananda.